Since the early 70s, rock bands have been experimenting with unconventional aesthetics. Several have done so in a daring and unapologetic way, which resonated with the rebellious youth of the time, while also raising controversy. Over the years, the anti-trend had become the trend, and dark imagery became so intertwined with the genre, it's become a way to blend in rather than stand out. But since 2010, a wholly anonymous band from Sweden has been making waves as if it were the old days. How did they find an audience? Why did they conceal their identities? And how did their ultimate unmasking impact their career? In this video, we'll cover the stories of Papa Emeritus and the Nameless Ghouls in the course of their career so far. This is the story of Ghost. Linköping, Sweden, 2006. A group of unnamed musicians begin working on a project that will remain under wraps for the next 4 years.
We've known each other for a long time, most of the members of the band, and this was an idea of one of us.
The band that I had in mind, that I heard in my head being Ghost, was very much a sort of a 70s band, maybe slightly older.
And as the music started to piece together, the band was debating how to present it.
We had our band name, we had a logo, we had a few songs. We felt that, well, this is not gonna be at all as cool as we wanted if we don't add like a strong image to it, because we that's what we saw ourselves.
And in March 2010, those first few songs were released as a 3-track demo on MySpace.
In this chapel of ritual, it smells of dead human sacrifices from the altar.
The mysterious demo drew immediate attention from around the world, and within 2 days of posting the tracks, the band was being approached with numerous record deals. Building on their sudden momentum, they released their first single, Elizabeth, in June of the same year. After the first single sold out, the band landed a deal with Rise Above Records for their full-length debut, and on October 18, 2010, Opus Eponymous was released. In the week that followed, they played their first official show.
In the first one, we just came to a festival. We were just the odd novelty, weird thing that was going on at the day. Oh, the clown band.
Their onstage appearance was hard to ignore. Between the shadowy figures playing their instruments, recognized only as nameless ghouls, stood a zombified pope-like character who called himself Papa Emeritus.
The name is a pun. No one seems to get that. Emeritus is the title you gain if you retire. Okay. And a pope retires when? He dies.
Continuing their effort to support the album, Ghost were able to tag along with several high-profile bands on tour, including Paradise Lost, Trivium, and In Flames. And not only were they finding new fans in the crowd, but also in their fellow tourmates. And Anselmo was not the only one.
I'm in their fan club. Yeah. I had no idea what they looked like until I saw the video. Oh, I heard their music first and thought it was very great. Very unique, very melodic, and a breath of fresh air for metal.
James came to see us at our first San Francisco show in this tiny venue, which was more like a coffee shop. We were stood backstage in our underwear. It probably wasn't the best way to meet your idol for the first time. Then he came by after the show. Of course, we were in our underwear again. Come to think of it, I've met James many times in my underwear. The praise was unanimous. Opus Eponymous had entered the Swedish pop charts and was well received by critics. Soon after, the accolades came. A Swedish Grammys nomination for Best Hard Rock Album in 2011, as well as a Metal Hammer Golden Gods Award for Breakthrough Band in 2012. But while Sweden was embracing Ghost's sinister form of expression wholeheartedly, the other side of the Atlantic was not quite as welcoming. After finishing their first album cycle, it was time for their next evolution.
I was very, very determined not to make just a continuation of that record to prove that we were not a hype. We had a hype going, but we are not just a hype.
The follow-up was to be recorded in Nashville, Tennessee, which initially seemed like the most natural choice, until they attempted to hire a local choir.
And all of a sudden, these three cowboys come in and, you know, okay, howdy, what are we gonna sing again? Oh, shit, you haven't told him? Okay, what are we gonna sing then? We showed them the lines, and they were like, no way, that's not happening. I refuse to take this. This goes against my whole personality. And one of them, like, started sobbing. And, you stand there, it's like, that went well.
Fortunately, they were able to find the right people in Hollywood, as, to quote the band, there was no shortage of people willing to sell their souls over there. With studio sessions complete, the band released their first single off their yet unnamed second album on December 15th, 2012. The song was called Secular Haze, and the music video showed Ghost in what looked like a 70s TV show. Later that day, Ghost played a special show in their hometown, in which they debuted not only the song, but also a mysterious new character.
Io sono Papa Emeritus il secondo.
The sudden and unexpected change of frontman sent Ghost fans for a loop.
There was like an open question, like, what's the story?
The new Dark Pope was introduced as a wild card, a reckless narcissist and a self-described ladies' man. Perhaps as a clever bait for curious fans, he allowed himself to be interviewed quote-unquote unmasked.
To get the most out of every performance, I always like to treat certain members of the audience to a special treat. Let's call it a 360-degree papa.
There were also questions around his voice. With only one single to go by, many fans debated whether this really was a new singer or just a new mask. In December 2012, the new album was announced. Infestissimum, as they called it, was to be released in early 2013. But come April, the band was once again facing trouble in the US. Due to a legal issue with their name, they were forced to rename to Ghost BC for all US releases. And due to the explicit artwork included with the new album, which depicted a 16th century orgy as well as an upside-down Jesus on a cross, they were turned down by 4 different CD manufacturers. Regardless, April 2013 saw the worldwide release of Infestissimum, Ghost's sophomore record, and with it, a series of worldwide tours supporting bands such as Iron Maiden, Slayer, and Alice in Chains. To top it off, they released one more single, titled Year Zero. The music video showed a group of women, young and old, all helplessly charmed by Papa Emeritus. Upon Papa's departure, they proceed to take off their clothes, only to dress back up as the nameless ghouls themselves, throwing a curveball once again at the fans. As for Papa, he does not shy from the camera either, and at the end of the video, gives the audience a full frontal. The critical reception for the album was generally favorable, but not overly excited. While the larger metal outlets praised the album for its psychedelic and progressive elements, others found it to be a bit tame and inconsistent. This did not stop the album from conquering Sweden once again, crushing the national charts at number 1, officially going gold, and for the first time, winning the Swedish Grammys.
Ghost!
The American audience didn't fail to recognize it either, bringing it to number 1 in the Billboard Hard Rock album chart. And adding to their already impressive networking achievements, they were once again connecting with famous artists.
You're so free, that's what everybody's telling me.
Despite the success of the album, it was not a smooth ride. In the US, their music was banned from major chain stores, most late-night television shows, and most commercial radio stations. As one of the ghouls put it, mainstream America is welcoming us with open legs. This made it difficult for the band to fully realize their plans.
Infosystemum saw a lot of headlining towards the end of the tour. I was just like, this is not flying. This is not good. It's so still standing. It's not entertaining.
The core intent was never to appeal to a shitload of people. The core intent was to do a grand-ass show. But that goes hand in hand with appealing to a shitload of people, because otherwise you can't do a big show. We still have a lot of things that we want to accomplish with Ghost in terms of aesthetic, and in order to be able to fulfill a lot of those ideas and turn that dream into a reality, we need to grow.
Ghost went back to the studio at the end of 2014. Assigned with production duties was Klaus Oland, a fellow Swede who had worked with some of the world's biggest pop artists, such as Katy Perry, Britney Spears, and Madonna. Certainly, Ghost were an odd entry in his resume.
He's professionally more known as more of a songwriter-producer, this sort of producer that sort of sits, writes a song, produces it, and then this really famous singer comes in and sings it, and then it's their song. He wanted, for once, to do a more of a normal production job.
And along with their music, they were also developing the next chapter in the Ghost story.
Brothers and sisters, you know why you are here tonight. This ministry is now 7 years into the Ghost project. Churches opened, 0. Governments toppled, 0. World leaders converted to the cause, 0. You call yourselves salesmen, masterminds? You have done shit! Papa 2 has been let go. And this is Papa 2's brother. He is a full 3 months younger. I present to you now Papa Emeritus III!
Now, the upcoming record had a name, Meliora.
The correct translation of Meliora is the pursuit of something better and more grand. The title is more ironic because if you look at the front cover, it's a very dark and it's actually quite somber. So you might as well put a little question mark after Meliora. Better? Is this better?
Just 2 days after the announcement of the new record, and the new singer of course, Ghost released their first single off the album. The song was called Cerise.
We debated whether or not a song like Cerise was a good choice, even until like a day before we released it. It was like, shit, we've chosen the wrong song.
I feel your presence amongst us. You cannot hide in the dark.
Cerise is actually just a mispronounced church. When it was written, I wanted it to have a female name so that it would be mistaken for a love song. But it's actually a song about manipulation.
I can feel the thunder that's breaking in your heart.
And although the album was a couple of months away, the fans in Linköping did not have to wait to hear the new songs, and got to witness a special ceremony.
Io sono Papa Emeritus III.
With Papa 3 at the helm, Ghost released Meliora on August 21st, 2015, and the tour that followed was not in the usual format.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have summoned you all here, and now I bring you Ghost!
With the new album out and with the first single making waves, the barrier between Ghost and mainstream America was starting to crack.
Performing the song Cerise from the album Meliora, Ghost.
That Halloween, they made their first ever appearance on American television and in classic Ghost fashion, amped the theatrics to 11. And after nabbing yet another Swedish Grammy, it was time for the real deal.
Ghost, Cerise.
You know, a nightmare have just turned into a dream. So, thank you all for that. Thank you, everybody involved, and thank you for voting. Now, go party!
And the party did not end there. In September 2016, they released a brand new song called Square Hammer. The song, which was left out of Meliora because it didn't fit the album's theme, was released as part of an EP called Pope Star. With Square Hammer and Pope Star both hitting #1 in the Billboard rock charts, Ghost were at the absolute pinnacle. And right at that moment, right as everything was coming together for them, one member of the band came forward with a shocking announcement.
Hi, my name is Martin, and I've been a part of the rock band Ghost for 7 years. Some of you people know me as Omega or Quintessence or a nameless ghoul or a fucking asshole for that matter. Since of July last year, 2016 that is, I'm no longer part of Ghost, as some of you have noticed. Reasons why we'll take at another date.
In April 2017, 4 other members of Ghost filed a lawsuit against the head figure in the band, who had been acting as every incarnation of Papa Emeritus. His identity, along with the names of his former bandmates, was now public information. The musicians, who were largely unknown outside of their involvement in Ghost, were accusing one Tobias Forge of failing to pay them their rightful share from the band's profits, and were seeking 200,000 Swedish krona in compensation. This caused a rift among fans. Many who grew to admire the mysterious yet jovial character of Papa were now consumed in a media storm full of speculation around Forge, who was now seen as a tyrant. Strangely, Martin Persner was not listed in the court documents. I didn't want to be involved at all. I had no interest in suing someone. I wasn't at a trial to help any side. I was called as a witness. I had no interest in going there, but I said what I knew, and they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. Persner's unwillingness to take sides raised many questions among the fans, but none of his interviews has brought fans any closer to the truth of what happened.
Basically, it's a group of 5 or 6 very, very good friends.
Yeah.
And something horrible happened, and to me, it feels like talking about the divorce of your wife. It's so horrible, so I'd rather not talk about anything about that.
Between the various court dates, Forge, along with a new set of ghouls, showed no signs of slowing down. On August 24th, 2017, the band released their final music video from Meliora for the song He Is. Fans enjoyed another distraction from the lawsuit stories, as the main Ghost story was driven forward by the clergy, who apparently was unsatisfied with Papa 3. After Papa 3's dismissal, Sister Imperator suggested Cardinal Copia, a completely new character, to be his successor. The suggestion was met with some resistance from the head of the clergy and father of the previous papas, now known as Papa Nile.
He is not part of the bloodline.
With all due respect, you are all out of progeny.
Finally, the new prospect was approved, and for the first time, Ghost was headed towards a new release without Papa Emeritus. Now, it was the Cardinals' time to shine. On April 13, 2018, Ghost released a new single called Rats.
In times of turmoil, in times like these.
On the surface level, the song was about the Black Death, which was historically believed to be spread by rats.
This wretched mischief is now coursing through your soul.
And in other ways, it was about public trials and their viral propagation, perhaps alluding to the negative sentiment that surrounded Forge since the lawsuit was filed. Apart from the lawsuit, details about Forge himself were now in high demand. The world wanted to know, who is Tobias Forge? What kind of person is he? And what did he do to deserve getting sued by his own friends?
I started this band in 2006, and fucking no one that has ever been in the band, except for one person that was in the band for the 5 first shows, was ever there with me.
This is Tobias Forge from Ghost, everybody. Welcome. Now, this is a very unique instance for me, because this, to my knowledge, is the first time you are you.
Forge's first few appearances in the media weren't quite as revealing as some interviewers had hoped, with his face either partially covered or sometimes showing only a silhouette. But as time went on, the defenses were lowered.
I got into rock music because of my older brother, who was 13 years senior.
He loved AC/DC, he loved Rainbow, Motorhead, Metallica.
Sometimes he took me to parties and concerts and stuff like that I really enjoyed, obviously, but might not be, ideal for a 3-4-year-old. But I liked it. I liked it.
I have photos at home when I'm 3-4 years old and dressed up in his stuff, and like a combination of, because I wanted to look like Dee Snider and Nikki Sixx. So I have like mom's stockings on and, belts with spikes on it and all kinds of paraphernalia.
One day he went in as always and bought a bunch of records, and one of those records was Love Gun by Kiss. And I fell instantly, and he was like, "You can have this record. You like it more than I do."
Dropping out of school at 16, Tobias dreamt of playing music for a living and was firing in all directions. Between the death metal of Repugnant, the glam revival of Crash Diet, the pop rock of Subvision, or the alternative rock of Magna Carta Cartel, there wasn't an outfit he wouldn't try on. In 2006, while working out a new song called Stand By Him, something was clicking differently.
It just felt very intuitive and very like, this is where my pop sensibilities sort of merge with my metal background.
After playing the song to one of his bandmates, they were both keen on starting a project together. But as Tobias was moving to another city, the idea was put on ice, and the two made an agreement.
Let's put it this way, if I can write 2 more songs in the same vein that feels as fresh and as fun,
that just fall out of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we should do it.
By 2008, several more songs were written, and the two were ready to record a demo. Sometime into the sessions, while listening back to the tape, Forge couldn't ignore the situation and said, "This definitely does not sound like 2 dudes that look like you and I." From that point, their next decision came naturally.
Because I thought that there's no chance in hell that someone from my street with my background was going to become a rock star.
Right.
So in order to become a rock star, I need to transform into another person.
But by late 2009, Forge was pushing 30, married, and a father of 2.
I had a sort of an epiphany that, wow, like, I am where I want to be in terms of my family, but professionally, I am nowhere near where I want to be.
Working a tech support job allowed him to keep afloat, but inside he was growing desperate. It was becoming painfully clear that Ghost would be his final shot. Finally, on March 12, 2010, he'd uploaded the Ghost demo to MySpace and, expecting nothing special, went to visit his mother. During the visit, he briefly checked his computer and noticed the page had blown up beyond all proportions. This was undoubtedly the biggest event of his career up to that point. While he was struggling to contain his excitement, the phone rang. Tobias's mother went to answer it and came back shortly after. When Tobias saw her, the room froze. Sebastian, Tobias's brother, was dead. His heart had failed due to an undiagnosed condition. There was no preparation, no signs, and no warning. It felt like some weird trade, the band for my brother.
Boys, you're being reinstated. You're going back on the road. You're going back in full regalia. You're going to be back in the spotlight forever. See you later, boys.
With the previous papas now mysteriously gone, and with Cardinal Copia at the helm, Ghost released a second single off their upcoming fourth album. The song was called Dance Macabre. The music video features Sister Imperator and Papa Niall in their youth and reveals a romantic connection. Among fans, it was speculated that the Cardinal is in fact their bastard son. Ghost's fourth album, titled Prequel, was set for release on June 1st, 2018. The night before, the band was celebrating in a sold-out show in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But the celebration didn't last very long.
52-year-old Jeffrey Fortune was a big fan of the Swedish metal band Ghost. He was at the concert at the Riverside Theater on Thursday night with his wife and 2 sons. But during intermission, something changed.
Then he said, "I think I'm okay to stay here now." And he looked up and he smiled and he just collapsed, almost like he knew that he was dying and he was okay with it.
With a history of congestive heart failure, efforts to revive Fortune were unsuccessful and he was pronounced dead at the hospital. In response, Ghost fans who attended the show started a crowdfunding campaign to support the family and were able to raise over $10,000. To bolster this effort, Ghost sold a special shirt design featuring Fortune and Cardinal Copia dressed as Michael Myers, and the proceeds went directly to the family. Several months later, the band returned to Milwaukee and paid their respects by finishing the shortened set.
Unfortunately, tragedy brought us here tonight, as you all know. But we're back here tonight for you. And for Jeff Fortune's family, who is here tonight as well.
Around this time, the lawsuit was wrapping up. Throughout the case, the former Ghouls claimed Forge was trying to turn the band into a solo project in an underhanded way. In his defense, Forge claimed that Ghost had always been his project, that the songs were mostly his work, and that no legal partnership existed between him and the musicians beyond being hired as live performers. In October, the court ruled in favor of Tobias Forge. According to the ruling, the Ghouls were not able to provide sufficient evidence to prove they were equal partners in the band. They were then hit with Forge's legal fees, which amounted to 1.3 million krona, over 7 times what they sued him for. To add to his sweet victory, Forge saw the new album reach #1 in the US, and the acclaim from critics was universal. But as always, it wasn't without its hurdles.
If you've been driving along 191 earlier tonight past the Wagner Noel, you might have noticed a group of citizens standing under the brightly lit sign. The concerned community members were praying over the community after learning that a Swedish rock band that they say has satanic influences is playing a concert there next week.
This kind of band will bring spiritual influences into this area. We're concerned about it because we believe the devil is real.
As far as Tobias was concerned, it came with the territory.
There's a reason for D-Side getting negative press, positive press if you will, or Judas Priest in the 80s or Ozzy Osbourne, because they were huge.
After the Cardinals' spectacular debut, Ghost were eager to share more of their backstory and shine a light on Papa Nile. This led to a 2-track release named 7 Inches of Satanic Panic, supposedly from 1969 and sung by the old man himself.
Sister, what do you think about a re-release for the 50th anniversary?
Much to his delight, Papa Nile was a hit, not only with the ladies, but also the fans who enjoyed the stylistic throwback. Sister Imperator, however, did not approve of his exploits. The band toured in support of Prequel until March 2020, and of course, on the very last show, the Ghost Theater resumed.
Aleksey se murió.
Can you hear me say your name forever?
Life Eternal was the final song on Prequel to be made into a music video. Instead of focusing on the band, it mostly featured footage of the fans, many of whom dressed up as Papa or the Ghouls.
This is the moment of just letting go.
After paying tribute to the fans, Ghost found it proper to honor the people who inspired them. The cover, which was featured on Metallica's official tribute album The Metallica Blacklist, initially came about a few years prior, when Ghosts were invited to an award show held by the Swedish royal family.
I got the news that Metallica was going to be given one, and are you interested in participating? I was just, yes, of course, I want to do that. I'd love to honor them.
In a spree of crossing off bucket list items, the band also wrote a song for an official Halloween movie. Apart from being featured on the soundtrack, Hunter's Moon would later become part of a concept album which was announced in October 2021. The album, which was teased and delayed several times, produced a couple more singles before its release. The first, titled Call Me Little Sunshine, was released in January of the following year. And on March, the band released 20s, which was strikingly unusual for a Ghost song. Inspired by The Rule of Empires by Timothy Parsons, Ghost's fifth album was finally released on March 11th, 2022.
This is their album. It's called Aspera from the Mountain View Mausoleum with the song Call Me Little Sunshine, Ghost.
It means that it's about the repetitive nature of empires in general and how they are, their self-destruction mechanisms as always to blame, if you will, if you're an imperial kind of person, to blame for its ultimate destruction and annihilation.
Musically, the album took a step toward modernity and featured their most technical guitar work to date. Upon release, Impera became Ghost's highest charting record and was embraced by critics who saw it as a love letter to the 80s. The clergy could not have been more excited with the new Papa's performance. And although Papa Nile had already died by now, even he wasn't going to miss the party. How the Ghost story continues and whether they've peaked commercially remains to be seen. But even if their brand of shock rock will never appeal to everyone, they've created a lasting fantasy that many are willing to get lost in. Music-wise, they've given the younger generation a taste of everything they missed, and the older generation a reminder that the music they loved so dearly is still alive and is here to stay forever. This episode is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you'd like to see more of our documentaries, click here for a full playlist of them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.